You're listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. This is a podcast that guides you as a new or inspiring independent interior designer navigating your entrepreneurial path. Here, with my over 20 years experience, I will share my holistic approach to design with intention and ancient practices, including feng shui, all incorporating mind, body, and spirit into my design projects. You will also learn from seasoned interior designers as they give strategies and insight of how they built their businesses and continue to work in the field. Together, we will discover supportive trade partners, new ideas, creatives, and inspiring artists from around the world. I am your host, Rachel Lorraine Crawford. Welcome back to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. Our guest today is Joanna Cutri. Welcome, Joanna.
Thanks, Rachel.
Of course. We're going to set the stage here by lighting a candle. I like to connect with that element of fire and just the intention setting process. So connection, creativity, all the things. And then I've got the Radiant Crystal deck, which I'm going to pull a card from. Let's see what we have here. So the idea behind this is really just to kind of get a little bit of a reading, a little message, what we might need to connect with today, what might come up for us. And that's Rhodonite. And she has these beautiful keywords here, which is gratefulness, self-confidence, and support. And this is connected to the heart chakra. And the affirmation is, I find confidence in myself when I listen to my heart. And Rhodonite for me is like the self-love stone. So whenever I'm working with somebody that is just needing a little extra love up upon themselves, I always recommend connecting with Rhodonite. It just has a beautiful, to me, it's more of a hardcore love versus like a rose quartz seems really light and a little bit fluffy. And this is kind of like more like grounded in there, like a real hard love.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So what's home for you, Joanna?
You know, that's a really good question. I've lived all over the world, and I love home. I love creating home. And so I'm originally from Pasadena. And when I left Pasadena, I think like anybody who decides to leave home, it was very much like, I'm never coming back. And so I traveled and lived around the world. And I never, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, you know, would you consider coming back to California and coming home?
Yeah.
I would have said no way. And so actually being back home in California, like it's such a surprise. I was like, oh, I never expected to come home. You know, I had other plans. You know, I was just, my husband's French and we were living in the south of France. And here I'm thinking I'm going to live out this like dreamy French fantasy with my French husband. And, we were living in this little beach town and we met this couple from Encinitas.
Oh my gosh.
And I know. It's
You're
so
like,
crazy.
what?
I know, because being from Pasadena, I don't know if you're from LA, it's like, I don't know, you don't go past Laguna Beach. I have no idea. So they lived in Cardiff and they were living in this beach town with us in the south of France. And for a year, they wouldn't stop talking about Cardiff. And, you know, I felt very indoctrinated. I'm like, ooh, Cardiff. I had no idea where it was. Like I couldn't place it on the map. And my husband at the time got a job in New York. And so all of a sudden, you know, I hadn't lived in the States in like 15 years.
Wow.
And here I am. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm coming back to New York. And Cardiff was always in the back of my mind. And so I had some health issues that came up, and the only doctor that was a specialist with what was going on was at UCSD.
Wow.
So I flew out from New York and saw the doctor at UCSD. And my friend, the one from Encinitas, said, you know, while you're there, you should go check out Cardiff. So, okay, I'm here. And so I jumped in an Uber and I took the coast up from La Jolla. And the minute that I got to Encinitas, I was like, this is home. Wow. This is where I want to be. So I go back to New York, and I have this in the back of my mind. I'm like, we're going to move. We're going to move to Encinitas. I have, I come back for my medical issue, and I couldn't really recover in New York. Like, my dog walked faster than I could after this whole thing. And so I looked at my husband and I'm like, we need to move to Cardiff. And he was like, well, my job is here. And I said, yeah, but you're going to negotiate working remotely.
Oh my God. And what year was this?
2019.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he's like, yeah, but nobody does that. And I said, but you're going to do that. You're going to negotiate working remotely, and we are moving to Cardiff. So he did. And then 6 months later, after we arrived, the pandemic hit.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And Cardiff, Encinitas, just that little strip of coast, that's home. That is home. Yeah. It just, I really have been all over the world, and I have set up home in different countries. And I just feel at home here. I love it.
Yeah. So, and I had no idea you're here, and I'm right here in Lucadia, right?
I know. I thought, I was like, I should come over. We could have had a coffee. So yeah, this is definitely home. We bought a home. We are eyeball deep in projects, and my husband is an art director, and so we both have this force of creativity that we are just dumping into this house. And so home is definitely, it's kind of like the big project right now. Yeah. Just, creating this home, and we love it. I love it. So
our environments are just so important and so magical, and we can create these worlds within these spaces. And I have a feeling that your home is super magical, and we're gonna be able to experience your studio, so we get to do all that. But I can't wait. You and I met at Design Expo here in San Diego. Can you share with me like the story of how you got involved with that? And because that was the first time I'd even heard about it, and I got to
I think it's so amazing what these women are doing. So actually, there is an artist that I follow, Jackie Leishman, and she's up in LA, and I love her work. And she and I were, like Instagram buddies. Like, I would ask her, like, what kind of paper are you using? Or, oh, what's that book you're reading? But she and I had never met in person. And she had posted that she was in this design expo here in San Diego. And I thought, oh, that's awesome. I get to meet her. And then I woke up in the morning and I'm thinking, well, why am I not in that? Why didn't they ask me? I'm here, but I just feel like, we're coming out of a pandemic. We kind of really don't know who's here. And, so I reached out to the women that were organizing this amazing event. And I said, I know it's kind of last minute, but I would love to invite you to my studio. I love hosting. I really do. I really, really love hosting. I said, please come to my studio. Let me host you. Let's chat about this. And if you think I'm a good fit, I would love to participate. So they came over, we totally hit it off.
Amazing.
And then when I met Jackie Leishman, she's like a friend now. We just really had to meet.
Yeah.
It really, I think she and I, we come from very similar backgrounds. And so when she and I met, I was like, oh my gosh, we're going to be friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's so rad. Yeah. And then you just, I think also like part of what I'm hearing from your story is like you just taking the initiative and taking action. I think so many people might just sit around and wish and kind of be in the muck of like, oh, I didn't get invited. But it's like, sometimes I don't even know who you are, or like you have to put yourself out there.
Well, not only that, but, a lot of there's a lot of talk and stuff around manifestation, which is awesome. But I'm like, no, manifest action. Like, if you want it, go get it.
Absolutely.
It's not like, oh, I'm manifesting and it's going to drop out of the sky.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You have to do your part.
Totally. Manifest action all the way. Like, if that's what you want. And, you know, I'm very much like, that is what I want. Okay. You know, step into that space, make it happen. Whatever that looks like, all those little steps that you have to take. You know, I think that, you know, people see the unfolding, but they don't realize what's going on, like, behind the scenes, or like how much time and how many steps, like little baby steps it takes. And then, so, when things finally do manifest, you know, people think it just kind of magically happens. I'm like, no, it's a lot of hard work.
So they aren't seeing all that.
All the way, manifest action. So
yeah, absolutely. I absolutely love it. And how did you come into the world of art and making this your life?
I think it's just always been that way. I have, you know, I think you're born an artist. I really, really do. And, I mean, I have been doing this my whole life. I remember in my first grade class, I had this amazing Karen Berger, Mrs. Berger. And we had this little, I remember it so clearly. We had this little project, like an art project. And I took out, a newspaper and tore it up into all the, like, confetti. And created like a snow scene. And I'm from California. I don't even think I had seen snow.
Oh my gosh.
And she loved it. She was like, what is this? And so I've always been very tactile, you know, like I get in trouble at the kitchen table because I would peel the labels off everything. I don't know, just constantly with my hands. I think growing up in LA, there's such amazing access to museums and other artists. So I feel like it was always around me, and I don't think I had a choice. Like, I think that it was just, this was the way that I was born, and no one discouraged me.
It's amazing.
You know, I think that, you know, because it is hard. It's really, really hard. And no one discourages me, where I'm like, why didn't anyone tell me to go to law school or like be an accountant? I don't know, something more reasonable, or, you know, and I never felt discouraged. And, you know, I took different art classes as a kid. And then I went to the art high school, LACSA, at Cal State LA. And that is just when my whole world just like cracked wide open. And that was pivotal. That was it.
Wow.
And then I studied art in Italy, and I kind of bounced around a lot. I think that I was naturally curious, and slightly dissatisfied. I think when you have an experience like going to an art high school, which was so major that all of a sudden you go off to college and you're like, really, this is it? And I have to pay for this? And so, you know, that sense of dissatisfaction or wanting more or needing more, you know, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to sit with this. This isn't working for me. I'm going to move on. And, you know, so yeah, I've always been an artist, and I don't think I had a choice. Like, I think this was just like the big calling, and, you know, this is definitely my purpose and who I am. And
you love it.
You know, this is why I'm here.
Yeah. So rad. And you spoke a bit about the tactileness and using your hands. Do you do a lot of that in your current work now? And what's that process like?
Well, whenever I see painters and they're wearing gloves, I'm like, oh, okay, they're probably way more healthy than I am. You know, here I'm like, really, I get dirty, you know, like I get into it. And I love collage. I've been lugging around a giant box of paper around the world.
Wow.
It just keeps getting bigger, and during the pandemic, I just was like, I should sculpt, you know,
Oh my gosh.
we're in law. I know. And I was like, I should sculpt. And so I tried to figure out, I'm like, okay, where am I going to buy clay? Like
Yeah.
everything's closed. And I found, I don't even remember what it was, like somewhere in National City. And I was like, you just have to throw it in the back of my car. And I drove down there and they threw clay in the back of my car. And
Wow.
all of a sudden I came home and I'm like, I'm going to sculpt. And I just started sculpting and I didn't even know I could sculpt. So yeah, I use my hands. I get super dirty. I love using different materials, and there's so many materials. It's like, how do you just choose
insane.
one? And so I end up mixing a lot of different materials, and I've kind of found a way to kind of incorporate it all. So
So rad. And the pieces that you had at the show, did that have any particular meaning, or was that for the show?
yeah.
Like, where did that collection
No.
come from?
So prior to the pandemic, my work was incredibly colorful, and very multi-layered, and everyone loved it, which was that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And there was a collection that sold particularly well, and so a lot of the galleries, they wanted me to like revisit that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Which is great, but then, my artwork is this visual storytelling
Yeah.
of my life. And so those paintings that I had created were, they were like an old story.
Right.
And, during the pandemic, I had pulled out of a gallery because I kept thinking, I'm like, wow, art is about visibility. And if this gallery isn't going to be open,
Yeah.
I don't want my artwork sitting in there. And so I kind of took inventory of these very colorful, complex paintings, and they felt chaotic to me. As the world was extremely, it was just like too much. And like I said, it was from a time in my life where I'm like, that's not me anymore. And I don't know if I want that anymore. And so I put it away, and I sat in my studio while there was just chaos going on. And I mean, it was just like such an intense time, and it felt really loud and noisy. And I kind of like dropped into this, meditative state. And I'm like, well, what do I have to say? And I'm thinking, what if I don't have anything to say? What if I just want to like drop into that stillness and in that meditative state and just be there? And what does that look like? And, living on the coast, we have May-gray and we have June gloom, and, that coastal environment of all of a sudden you're in this white space, and everything gets really still. And, depending on how the light comes in and filters, you see these different shapes and transparencies of the landscape. When we were living at the beach, and I just kind of sat still for a minute and took my environment in, and it was like, imagine just like being at the bottom of the ocean or at the bottom of a pool. And I just wanted to be in that space. And so I was thinking, what does that visually look like? And what if I just took all the color out of my pieces? And so the application and the actual approach to my art is the same. I get messy and I use a lot of collage. And I was mostly focusing on different organic shapes and abstracting that. And so the first series that came out of that was called White Noise. So if you know anything about white noise or white noise machines, like it's just that meditative space. And, as a designer, that it's so funny because I really feel like interior designers get this.
Yeah.
White paint is not just white paint.
No.
People want to minimize it. Oh, she's doing these white paintings. It's just white paint. There's so many
So
shades of
much goes
white,
into
and
it.
there's
Yeah.
so much of how it plays with light and the different transparencies and how white changes in a room depending on the light of the day, how the light hits it. And so it was this amazing exploration of white
Wow.
paint, and which is really complex. And I actually learned a ton. And it was just all this different play with matte and with glossy, with acrylic, with oil, just different materials and how much you can do with white. And all of a sudden, my old paintings, they felt complicated and
Yeah.
simple. I wanted simple. I wanted simple, and I wanted to, and simple isn't easy.
No.
So
Super complicated.
it's super complicated. And so it was an amazing exploration. It was an amazing practice. And so, the white series, the white noise series came out first. And that was on canvas. And then I got asked to be in a show in the south of France with a really good friend of mine that I had met in Indonesia like years ago. He was a ceramics artist. And she and I had this amazing, like we are really connected. And so I decided I was going to work on paper just to see how that changed things.
Okay.
And so she and I, had a conversation about, okay, we're going to have this show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the feeling, and this is the theme. I'll see you in July. We never worked together. We
Wow.
never shared the work. I knew what she was doing.
Okay.
But it wasn't like we had weekly check-ins. And so the white noise series kind of transitioned into this series on paper. And I created 21 pieces. I got on a plane with, a roll of 21 paintings, flew to the south of France. And the work that we created, it looked like it belonged together.
Wow.
It was just so symbiotic, and they just belonged together. They just had the same energy. They had the same flow when we, put it in the gallery. And it was also very monochromatic, and it was very white and airy and fluid. And it was beautiful how it came together because, that connection with another artist.
Yeah.
And that trust and that faith that, okay, I know what you're going to do is amazing. And we just kind of like tapped into each other's spirits. And when it came out, I was like, wow, we weren't expecting that. And so that was the second series, and of this white, monochromatic, very botanical and very fluid forms. And, I'm going to keep doing these beautiful white, light, monochromatic. I just feel like there's so much more to explore, and there's so much more to do with these white paintings. So,
they have so much depth to them. I feel like you could probably just get lost into all of the nuances and parts and pieces that you've put together.
I mean, they definitely are more dynamic, and they translate so much better in person. I think the biggest challenge is photographing those paintings is they really need to be seen in person. And they really changed with the light of the day. And so when, I work with different designers all over the place, and, it's those pieces that grow with you within the space. Mm-hmm. And I think that, designers, they really get it. Where I'm like, try choosing a white paint for a room. It's so much more than just,
it's not just
white.
We're
just going to paint this one white, right?
Like, well, what kind of white?
So many whites.
Yeah. So how do you like working with designers? What does that process look like? Do you like to do commission work? Do you stay away from commission work? Do you like to
I
do what you're doing and then they kind of bring your pieces in? Like, what does that look like?
So since the pandemic, I primarily work with interior designers. I love working with interior designers. They're also artists. They're creative. They're also, very much into creating space and home. So I get that. I love the collaboration. So I do commissions. Usually somebody will see a piece and, it needs to be size specific for the space, or they like different elements from different paintings. So it's definitely a collaboration. They'll like my work and, they believe that it fits into the project that they're working with, or, they know that their client has a certain aesthetic that the painting will resonate with that. I love the collaboration because it's your clients, it's also your vision, and I'm being brought into that. So I love a good project, and I love the interaction. I want to know where my piece is going to be living, and how it works into the space. So that's always exciting to see, the final piece, and a space that has been really well thought out. That there's definitely intention behind, okay, we love your work and we really feel like it's going to fit with this space, and that it's not just, okay, we're going to throw a painting up on a wall. So
it's, like you said, it's extremely intentional. When somebody is working with you, what does that timeline look like in general? I know each one's probably different, but
well, like yesterday I was in Santa Barbara with a designer and her team, and they really wanted to see the white work in person, which I always highly recommend, because if it's possible, living in California, and I have to ship something out to New York, they're always really surprised when they unveil, because
oh my gosh,
they realize how much more dynamic it is in person, because photographing these pieces is a challenge. And so, once the designer gets to know me, gets to know the work, and they have a scope of just the body of work and how beautiful it is in person, then they'll present it to their clients. And I'm usually on the tail end of the project. I'm the soft finish.
Yep.
But if they want to do a commission work, I had a huge, it was so funny. It was a huge piece that was supposed to go to Florida.
Okay.
With an art consultant and a designer in Chicago. And he's like, I need this in like 4 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. I'm like, I will make that happen. And I had every fan, hair dryer on this piece. Yeah. So I'm also very much, okay, if it needs to get done, we will make it happen. Like, I'm there to deliver. So yeah.
Amazing. So if somebody wanted to connect, so if somebody wanted to connect with you, how could they go about getting in touch?
So I have my website and my Instagram, and then also, I love it when people just randomly reach out and they're like, hey, I'm a designer. I have this awesome project. Would you like to get involved? I love those surprises, those unexpected surprises. And like I said, I love hosting a studio visit, which for me is always such a treat to bring people into my space, and hosting, people and showing them the experience, and also kind of showing off my house, because when designers get to come in, I'm like, look what I did. So
amazing. And we get to do that with the Design Coven. We're going to come over on Friday and check out your studio. So can you share with us what we can expect, or what we'll be experiencing?
Well, since it's going to be in the morning, I definitely want to host something. I feel like when you're inviting somebody over, or maybe this is just me, when you're inviting somebody over to your home and your personal space, I want it to be memorable. I want
Absolutely.
people to feel good when they come over. And I love having people over. And my studio is actually in my home. I've set up
So cool.
beautiful white couch in my studio, not only to match my paintings, but I don't have kids, and so everyone's like, "Ooh, the white couch." I'm like, "I bet you have kids, huh?"
Yeah.
So I don't have to. So I have multiple white couches in my house. So,
Amazing.
yeah, and I would love to show you what I'm working on, the past work, just kind of give you a little journey and history
Oh my
into
gosh.
what I do. And there's a lot of work that isn't on the website or on
Okay.
Instagram. So kind of get like a sneak peek into
Amazing.
what's happening, where the magic happens in the studio. It's a fun space.
Yeah, we can't wait to experience.
So yeah, you'll definitely have to come over. And it's funny because when we were in Cardiff and we were in this tiny 2-bedroom apartment, I took over the 2nd bedroom as my studio before we had bought this house. And it was kind of the art studio / guest bedroom.
Okay.
I was like, sorry for the chaos, but you're
They probably love it.
I'm gonna blow up an air mattress. I was amazed. People loved being in there. I'm like, oh, I sleep with all this stuff in here. And then when I lived in Indonesia, the upstairs was also my art studio, and we had friends come and stay, and they had kids and they wanted to sleep in the art studio.
Oh my gosh.
And the chaos. Wake up with art. So
Yeah, why would you not? It sounds amazing.
yeah, so it's a fun space.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't wait. So we'll have your website up in the show notes, your Instagram, all that will be there. So any other listeners, designers that want to get in touch with you to have you work with them on their projects, they can definitely reach out. And then for those of you in the Design Coven, we'll experience these pieces in person. And if you're not in the Design Coven, you can always do a one-off event with us separately, which I highly recommend, doing these beautiful studio tours and being able to experience this art, because we, as designers, we have so much influence and, in making space, and to also support our community of other artists, and to connect, our clients with people like Joanna and other artists that are doing things, versus just purchasing something, out of a big box store or whatever and not having a connection. And that's the other thing too, is I love bringing artists to the homes to meet the homeowner, and there's always some sort of a connection there. And the homeowner is just like, they fall in love with our artists all the time, and they want to support, and they love the stories behind the art. There's always just something there that resonates. So it just makes the home that much more magical. And when they're looking at these pieces of art every single day, it brings them back to these experiences that they've had. And then they can tell their friends and the people that come over that they actually know the artist. This is the story behind it. It's a whole experience and thing. And experience is everything right now, with people hosting events and having others over for dinner parties or whatever. I mean, just like what you were talking about, having people come over and connect with you. It's such a
I also
thing.
feel like their paintings belong with certain people. I always said that if I had to put all my art collectors in a room, they carry a similar energy. They would fit nicely in a dinner party or any kind of event together. Like, it's just, there are certain paintings that just belong to certain people. And it just kind of makes sense. Like, there is art out there with your name on it that, for whatever reason, it has to live at your house and it has to belong to you. So something really interesting about that and kind of magical.
It's so cool. I love it. I absolutely agree. And you can just, I don't want to say match, but you can connect the people with the art and then see how that energy is so connected. Love it. Before we go, I always also ask, what do you do to stay grounded, to stay centered? Do you have any practices or things that you do to be there, or does that change? Like, what does that look like for you?
I have to go on a walk every single day. Like both my husband and I, we work from home, which is great. We love, we're quite homebodies.
Yeah.
But I need to get out there and, walking is a big thing. But, I really pay attention to the messages that are being sent, and I always ask for, actually, I don't ask, I demand, like, I need a sign.
Yeah.
Show me a sign. And so they come in very loud. I kind of get slapped in the face where I'm like, okay, I got it. No question there. Like I'm leaving for Italy on Sunday, and it's something that I definitely wanted to do, but I really needed a sign that I should go. Oh, they came in loud and clear. So,
what were one of the signs that came
sensitive?
Up? Can you share?
So, yes, it's actually, I know. So last year, I want to say that last year, the pace of work and all the different projects and just life in general, it felt really ferocious. I felt like during the pandemic, we were kind of in a coma for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden last year, it was like we were being electrocuted, and all of a sudden everything was just warp speed. And, we bought our house last year was just really intense. It just, fifth gear. And so by January, I was kind of tired, and I don't know if functioning on that level was exactly how I wanted things to go. And so, you're asking how I get grounded. I just stop, I just stop. I'm like, you got to stop. Yeah. So I kind of sat on the couch for all of January, and I just stopped, and I'm like, just tap in. What do you really want to be doing? And is this it? Like, what is this pace, this like intensity, and why are you doing this? And so I can be very self-reflective, and there's a lot of self-inquiry of, why am I doing this? But then also, just tapping into source, and just, I need a sign that I am I'm on the right path, and that I should be doing this. Because I can get into like either ferocious fifth gear, just power through. So I sat on the couch, and I literally the entire month of January, I meditated and I journaled and I did all the things. Yeah. But at the end of it, I needed proof. Yeah. I want a sign. Like, send me a sign that like, this is it. So in the course of a week, I got some pretty big signs. I went to school in Italy, in Cortona, in 1996. And one of the paintings that I had created as an art student was a painting, our painting teacher literally took us into the valley of Cortona and kind of threw us on the side of the road and was like, paint. Oh my gosh. So we did. And then this painting was exhibited in this exhibition, in this like little village. And I left that painting there at this exhibition. So while I'm having my, moment in January, sitting on the couch trying to figure out, what I'm doing, I get a message on Instagram from somebody in Reno, Nevada. And he said, I found this painting in a thrift store, and it has your name on the back of it. And I just want to know if it's really yours. And he took a picture of the painting. What? and my signature. And I literally sat on the couch, and it literally felt like the bottom of the couch like had opened up, and like I was just being swallowed whole, and my heart was pounding.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, yes, that's my painting. That's the painting I did on the side of the road in 1996. But I know for a fact that I left that painting in that village at this exhibition. So how it went from there across the United States to Reno, Nevada, to end up at a Salvation Army. And like I said, there is a painting for everybody. And that this person picked up that painting, felt, something to okay, I'm going to buy this painting, but not only am I going to buy this painting, I'm going to find this artist. So they found me on Instagram, and I mean, like, who does that happen to? But also, I'm not going to lie, my artist ego, the last thing I want is for my paintings to end up at a garage sale or in the trash or at a thrift store, right?
Of course.
All of a sudden, like, my worst fear came from, oh my God, it ended up at a thrift store. So I started this dialogue with this person, and I'm like, yeah, that is my painting. Why did you choose that painting? What do you mean it's in Reno, Nevada? And it just, I don't know. It was like the strangest, most awesome thing that ever happened. But that's not the only thing. So in the same week, because I had initially, before I sat down on my white couch, I'd asked myself, what do you really want? Like, what do you want? And it just like, I just want to go back to Cortona and paint. That's all I want. So this painting showed up.
Oh my God.
And then 4 days later, I get an email. So somebody who's not on Instagram or social, I get an email, and some random guy in LA had snapped a photo of a drawing and a print that I had done in Cortona, Italy, again in 1996. And he had bought it at like a Christie's auction it was like a fundraiser for my arts high school. I don't even remember giving these pieces like at all. I have no idea. Like, I don't remember donating. I don't know. And he snapped the picture of these 2 framed pieces. And he said, I bought these many years ago. And I look at them every day, and I just wanted to let you know how happy they make me.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, thanks. I'm like, who are you? How did you find me? And where did this come from? And it was pieces that I had done again in Cortona. So in answer to your question, are there any practices? I just really, when it's time to stop and to listen, I stop and I listen, but I also I want proof.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that it's not just my ego talking or, that mindless chatter. Like I really need proof that I'm going in the right direction, or that if something is calling me, that if I'm being called to go back to Cortona, Italy, because I will go. Of course I'm going to go. I'm leaving Sunday. That that I need to go, that for whatever reason, and I'm sure it will present itself when I get there, that I go. So I stop, I listen, I ask for signs and guidance and, proof.
Amazing.
And I pay attention, and then I act.
So cool. So are you going to paint while you're there?
Yes, I'm going to paint. I'm also going to do more sculpture. There's a ceramic studio that I had approached, and I said, hey, I'm coming to Cortona. I'd love to, be in the ceramic studio and explore some sculpture. I think I'm really going to focus on the figure drawing is kind of the first love I feel like I have. a lot of girlfriends from around the world that I have not seen in a while that are planning on showing up. And
Wow.
I know where I'm like, hey, I'm going to be here. And they're like, I will be there. And so,
Wow.
they all know I'm like, I'm going to draw you. Or,
Yeah.
so I feel like those female forms are going to find their way into this white monochromatic
Oh my God.
new body of work. And Cortona kind of sits on a hill, and those clouds and that fog kind of also sets in. So I think the environment and just the light, all of that is gonna come into this new body of work. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, who knows what's gonna come out? So, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So what I really love about doing this podcast is we're actually going to be time traveling, because we are recording this at the beginning of June. When we see you and when this airs, it will be after this experience that you just spoke about. So
the timing is amazing. The timing is amazing. And when you contacted me, I'm like, it is now or never. Like I have to pack. I have to get on that plane on Sunday. So yeah, it's the timing is really perfect.
It's really cool. So so we get to your studio. You will have gone to Italy. You will have given us this experience. Maybe you'll have some photos of what you've created. So cool. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's going to be I'm so glad we did this.
Of course. Yeah. Like I said, like these are such special episodes when I get to connect with somebody like you that's just having these different perspectives of life and how we can live beautifully and intentionally with, what we're here to do. And you're so connected to your purpose. It's really inspirational.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. So is there anything else before we leave?
No, this is such a nice way to start the day. This is a really good send off.
Good. Yeah, well, we can't wait.
I appreciate it.
Of course. You've been listening to the Holistic Interior Design Business Podcast. If it's one that you have been enjoying, please share with anyone else that you think can benefit from this knowledge. And leave us a 5-star review that helps us get seen and found by other new and aspiring interior designers. And if you're looking for mentorship, I invite you to join our club here at the Design Coven. It's a bridge between school and real life interior design. We get in much deeper there. We have virtual and in-person events. So everyone is welcome. You don't need to have a design degree to be part of it, just an interest in holistic interior design. I also want to thank our editor, Marcy Ferry, and Kinseth Thibodeau, who is our music composer. Until next time, be well, and we will see each other soon.